Sam was a mechanic, but not just any mechanic. He was a man who knew what it was like to struggle. His hands were rough from working with cars all day, and his clothes were often stained with oil and grease. He had his small garage, tucked in a quiet part of town, where he spent most of his time fixing cars. His life wasn't easy. Sam worked hard, but it always felt like he was just getting by. That evening, after another long day of fixing car engines and patching up broken parts, Sam stood at the door of his garage, locking up for the night. The street lights flickered as the cold wind blew through the air. It was one of those chilly winter evenings when the cold seemed to seep into your bones. Sam pulled his jacket tighter around himself, hoping to block out the biting wind. But just as he was about to walk to his old, beat-up car, he noticed something. A small figure was standing on the corner of the street. At first, he thought it was just a shadow or someone waiting for a bus, but as he walked closer, he saw that it was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. Her hair was tangled and dirty, and her clothes were far too thin for the cold weather. She was shivering, her arms wrapped tightly around her chest in a futile attempt to stay warm. Sam's heart sank. He had seen homeless people before, but seeing a child, so small and vulnerable, standing out in the cold like that hit him harder than he expected. She didn't have a coat or shoes, just a pair of ragged pants and a torn sweater. Her bare feet were covered in dirt, and she looked terrified, as if she didn't know where to go or what to do next. Without thinking, Sam approached her. He didn't know what had happened to this little girl, but he couldn't just leave her out here alone. He wasn't a rich man, but he had enough to help her, even if it was just a little. "Hey there," Sam said gently, trying not to scare her. "Are you okay?" The little girl looked up at him, her wide eyes filled with fear and sadness. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at him as if she couldn't believe anyone was speaking to her. Sam crouched down to her level, trying to appear less intimidating. "What's your name?" he asked softly. The girl hesitated, but finally spoke in a small voice, "Lily." "Lily, where are your parents?" Sam asked, his voice filled with concern. Lily's eyes filled with tears, and she quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand. I ran away," she whispered. "I didn't want to stay there anymore." Sam felt a lump form in his throat. He could tell from her voice that she had been through something difficult. He could only imagine what might have pushed a child so young to run away from home. "Well, Lily," Sam said, standing up and glancing around, "you're not going to stay out here in the cold. I'll help you." The girl's eyes widened with surprise. You will?" Sam nodded, even though he didn't know how he would manage it. "I'll take you somewhere warm. You can get something to eat, and we'll figure things out." The girl hesitated but then nodded, her small body trembling. Sam could see the fear in her eyes, but there was also a small flicker of hope. He wasn't sure where it was going to lead, but he knew one thing for certain: he couldn't just turn his back on her. Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out the last of his money. It wasn't much, just a couple of dollars, barely enough to buy himself a meal, but at that moment, it felt like the only thing that mattered. He walked with Lily to the diner around the corner, a small, warm place where the lights were bright and the smell of food filled the air. Once inside, Sam led Lily to a booth in the corner and sat down across from her. He smiled at her, trying to make her feel safe. The waitress came over, and Sam ordered a warm meal for the both of them. He was hungry too, but it didn't matter. Seeing Lily's face light up when the food arrived was enough to make him forget his own hunger. Lily dug into the food with both hands, as if she hadn't eaten in days. Sam watched her quietly, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. He didn't know what was going to happen next, but in that moment, he knew he had made the right choice. He had no idea what this little girl's story was, but he wasn't going to leave her alone out there in the cold. After a while, Lily looked up at him, her face full of curiosity. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Sam looked down at his plate, thinking for a moment. "I've been through some tough times too," he said quietly. "I know what it feels like to be alone, and I wouldn't want anyone to go through that. No one should have to face the cold alone." Lily nodded slowly, as if she understood. She seemed calmer now, the warmth from the food and the safety of the diner giving her a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. Sam knew he couldn't just let her go back to wherever she came from. He didn't have much, but he was determined to do what he could to help her. When they finished their meal, Sam stood up and put his jacket back on. He didn't have a plan, not yet. But he did know one thing: he wasn't going to let this little girl slip through his fingers. Whatever came next, he would be there for her. They weren't going to face the cold alone, not anymore. Sam and Lily sat in the corner of the diner, the warm glow from the overhead lights casting a soft light over them. While Sam couldn't help but feel a sense of responsibility for the little girl, he also felt deeply troubled. He knew that there was more to her story, something that made her run away from home, but he didn't want to pry too soon. He let her eat in peace, watching her with a quiet understanding. The sound of the silverware clinking against the plates filled the air, and the hum of conversations around them felt distant, as if the world had paused for a moment. As Lily finished her meal, she slowed down and looked at Sam, her small hands trembling slightly as she set her spoon down. Her eyes, filled with a mixture of gratitude and sadness, met his. Sam could tell she wanted to say something, but wasn't sure how to start. Sam leaned forward slightly, trying to make her feel comfortable. "It's okay, Lily. You can tell me what happened, whenever you're ready." She looked down at the table, her fingers tracing the edge of her plate. For a long time, she didn't speak. Sam wasn't sure if she was afraid to share her story or if the memories were just too painful. But after a moment of silence, she took a deep breath and began to speak in a soft, shaky voice. "I ran away, because of my mom," Lily said, her words hanging in the air like a heavy weight. "She didn't care about me. I wasn't even allowed to have enough food. And, sometimes she would get so angry and yell at me for things I didn't even do." Sam's heart sank. He had suspected something like this, but hearing her say it out loud made it feel all too real. His instinct was to reach out to her, to tell her that she didn't deserve any of this, but he held back, letting her continue. Lily wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve, though she didn't seem to notice the tears that had started to fall. "She'd always say I was too much trouble. That I'd never be good enough. So I left." She paused, biting her lip as if holding back even more emotions. "I didn't want to be a problem anymore." Sam felt his chest tighten. He could see now that this little girl, so small and fragile, had been carrying a heavy burden. She had been through so much pain, so much hardship, and yet she was still here, still holding on. His mind raced, wondering what had driven her mother to treat her this way, but he knew that was a question for another time. Right now, what mattered was Lily. "You're not a problem," Sam said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "You're just a kid, Lily. No one should treat you like that. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to be happy." Lily looked up at him with wide eyes, as if his words were the first real comfort she had ever heard. For the first time since they met, her face softened, and a small smile appeared on her lips. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered, almost as if she were apologizing for what had happened to her. "I didn't want to bother you. I didn't know what else to do." Sam shook his head. "You're not bothering me. You've done nothing wrong." For the rest of the evening, the two of them talked. Lily told Sam about how she had tried to take care of herself on the streets, how she had begged for food and used the little bit of change she could find to buy what she needed. She told him about the places she'd slept, the strangers she'd met, and how she had never felt safe. But despite everything, Lily still had hope. She still dreamed of a better life. She told Sam that she wanted to go to school, that she wanted to learn and become something more than what she had known so far. Sam could hardly believe it, considering the trauma she had been through. She was just a little girl, but she had dreams and a determination that surprised him. By the time they finished their meal, the diner was starting to empty out. The waitress came by to check on them, offering to refill their coffee cups, but Sam politely declined. He didn't want to rush things, not when it felt like he was just beginning to understand Lily's story. Sam glanced at his watch. It was getting late, and the cold night air outside was biting. He had to figure out what to do next. He couldn't send her back into the streets. He needed to find her a safe place, somewhere she could stay for the night, and maybe even longer. He didn't know exactly how to help her, but he was certain of one thing: he couldn't just walk away. "We're going to get you help, Lily," Sam said gently. "I'm going to find a place where you'll be safe, and you won't have to worry about anything anymore. You won't have to be alone." Lily nodded, but her eyes still held a trace of doubt. She had been let down by so many people in her young life, it was hard for her to believe that someone would truly help her. But Sam could see that there was a spark of hope in her, and that was all he needed to move forward. "Thank you, Sam," Lily said softly, her voice full of gratitude. Sam smiled at her, though it was a small, tired smile. "You don't need to thank me. You just need to know that you're not alone anymore." As they left the diner together, Sam wrapped his jacket tightly around Lily's shoulders, doing his best to shield her from the cold. The world around them seemed quieter now, almost as if the night had slowed down just for them. He didn't have all the answers, and he didn't know what the future would hold, but he knew one thing for sure: he wasn't going to let Lily go back to the life she had been living. She deserved so much more. Together, they walked through the quiet streets, both of them uncertain of what the next steps would be, but both knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. Sam couldn't sleep that night. As he lay in bed, his mind kept racing. He kept thinking about Lily, her small face, the way her eyes had looked when she spoke about her mother, and the hope she still carried despite everything. Sam had always been a man of routine, but now he found himself filled with a sense of urgency he couldn't ignore. He had to do something for Lily, and he had to do it quickly. The next morning, Sam woke up early. He had only slept a few hours, but he wasn't tired. There were things that needed to be done. First, he made a call to a local shelter that he had heard about, one that helped children like Lily. He was nervous as he dialed the number, not knowing exactly what to expect. But when a kind woman answered the phone, Sam explained the situation, and she was immediately supportive. "We can help," she said warmly. "Bring her in, and we'll make sure she's taken care of. We have a bed for her, and we'll get her started with a proper evaluation and counseling." Sam let out a sigh of relief. At least now, there was a place for Lily to stay, somewhere safe. But it wasn't just about getting her into a shelter, it was about giving her a chance at a better life. Sam knew that much more needed to be done. After hanging up, Sam looked around his small, cluttered apartment. It wasn't much, but it was home. There was no room for Lily to stay here, not permanently anyway. He needed to think of a better solution. He couldn't expect her to just stay in a shelter forever. She deserved more than that. She deserved a future. He went into the kitchen to make himself a quick breakfast, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't doing enough. Lily was so young, and yet she had already seen more hardship than most people would in their entire lives. He felt the weight of the responsibility on his shoulders. He had to make sure she had a chance to grow up without fear, without hunger, without pain. As he ate, his phone buzzed. It was a text from the businessman he had met a few days ago. The man had heard about what Sam had done for Lily and wanted to offer him something, an opportunity for work at his auto shop. Sam had been hesitant to accept at first, not wanting to seem like he was taking advantage, but now, looking at his phone, he realized that this might be the break he needed. The man's message said that he'd been impressed by Sam's kindness and hard work, and that he wanted to offer him a full-time position with better pay. It was the kind of opportunity Sam hadn't even dared to dream about. If he took the job, it could provide the stability he needed to build a better future, not just for himself, but for Lily as well. Sam quickly typed a reply, saying he'd be there to meet with the man later in the day. After sending the message, he felt a small flicker of hope. Things were starting to move in the right direction. But Sam knew that a job wasn't enough. He still needed to find a way to help Lily with her schooling, her emotional recovery, and her future. He made another call, this time to a local school district. Sam explained that Lily had been through a lot, but that she deserved the chance to go to school, to get an education, and to have a chance to make something of herself. The woman he spoke with was incredibly understanding. She said that there were programs in place for children who had experienced trauma, and that Lily would be placed in a supportive environment with teachers trained to help kids like her. This was more than Sam had hoped for. A safe place for Lily to stay, a chance to start school, and now, with the new job, the financial stability to make it all work. Sam couldn't believe how quickly things were falling into place. It wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like there was hope for Lily, and hope for himself. The rest of the day flew by. Sam met with the businessman, who was just as kind and generous as he'd appeared before. The man explained that he was looking for someone dependable to work at his shop and that Sam's experience had impressed him. Sam didn't hesitate to accept the offer. The new job meant a steady income, a chance to pay off his debts, and most importantly a chance to build something better for Lily. After leaving the meeting, Sam went straight to the shelter. He needed to make sure everything was set for Lily. When he arrived, he was greeted by the same woman he had spoken to earlier on the phone. She led him to a small office where Lily was sitting, quietly drawing on a piece of paper. When she saw Sam, her face lit up with a smile, and Sam's heart warmed. "I'm so glad you're here," the woman said. "Lily will be in good hands. We have a wonderful support system here, and she'll get all the care she needs." Sam looked at Lily, who was now standing up and walking over to him. She didn't say anything, but the way she held herself told him she felt safe, at least for now. Sam knelt down to her level. "I've got good news, Lily," he said gently. "I found a place for you to stay, and you're going to go to school soon. Things are going to get better." Lily's eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked almost confused. "Really?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. Sam smiled. "Really? You're going to have the life you deserve." The woman from the shelter smiled too, watching the two of them. "We'll make sure Lily has everything she needs," she said. "And if you need any help, we're here for you." As Sam left the shelter that evening, he couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. The weight of uncertainty that had been hanging over him was slowly starting to lift. He wasn't sure what the future would hold, but he was beginning to believe that, with the right people and the right opportunities, things could get better for Lily and for himself. It wasn't going to be easy, but it was a start. As he drove home, Sam thought about all the steps he had taken in the last 24 hours. It had been a whirlwind, but he knew he was on the right path. He had a job, Lily had a place to stay, and soon, she'd be going to school. Things were looking up, and for the first time in a long time, Sam could see a future that didn't feel so uncertain. The next few weeks passed by in a blur for Sam. Every day, he worked hard at the auto shop, learning the ropes of his new job. His boss, Mr. Turner, was kind and patient, teaching Sam everything he needed to know. It wasn't easy at first. There was so much to learn, but Sam was determined. He knew that this job was his chance to create a better life for both him and Lily. At the same time, Lily was adjusting to her new life at the shelter. She had started school, and while the first few days were tough, she quickly made friends. She was a smart girl, and despite the trauma she had faced, she was eager to learn. Every time Sam visited her, she told him about her day, how she had learned new things in class, and how she had joined a group of kids who were just as kind as the teachers who took care of her. Sam visited Lily every evening after work, always bringing her something small, a snack, a new drawing book, or a pair of warm socks. They spent time together in the evenings, talking about everything and nothing. Sam could tell that Lily was starting to heal. She was more confident, and even though she still had a long way to go, she was finally beginning to smile more. One afternoon, about a month after Lily had arrived at the shelter, Sam got an unexpected phone call. It was from a local community center that had heard about his recent actions. They were hosting a charity event to support families in need, and they wanted Sam to come and share his story. The event was set to take place in just a few days, and the organizers were hoping that hearing Sam's story would inspire others to help. At first, Sam was hesitant. He wasn't someone who liked being in the spotlight. He was just a mechanic, doing what he could to help a little girl who needed it. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that this could be an opportunity for him to give back. If sharing his story could encourage others to help children like Lily, it would be worth it. That evening, Sam sat down with Lily after dinner and told her about the event. Her eyes widened when she heard what he was going to do. "You're going to talk in front of everyone?" she asked, her voice full of curiosity and a little bit of awe. Sam laughed softly. "I don't know if I'll talk in front of everyone, but yes, I'll be sharing what happened. I think it's important for people to understand that even small acts of kindness can change lives." Lily's face lit up. "That's really cool, Sam," she said, a smile tugging at her lips. "You're a good person." Sam felt a warm glow spread through him at her words. It wasn't about the recognition or the applause, it was about doing the right thing, no matter how small or big the gesture. He could see now that helping Lily had been more than just about saving her, it had changed him too. The night of the charity event arrived quickly. Sam felt nervous as he entered the community center, the sounds of people chatting and laughing filling the air. The room was decorated with bright banners and tables full of food and drinks. People milled around, talking to one another, and there was a sense of warmth in the air. Sam spotted the event organizer, a woman named Carol, and she greeted him with a kind smile. "We're so glad you could join us tonight," she said. "Your story is exactly what we need to inspire people to make a difference." Sam nodded, still feeling the nerves settle in his stomach. He was just an ordinary guy, but Carol seemed to believe that his story could do something special. After a short introduction, Sam found himself standing at the front of the room, the spotlight on him. A microphone was placed in front of him, and a few people in the crowd turned their attention toward him. For a moment, Sam's heart raced. But then he remembered Lily, the reason he was there. She was his motivation, the reason he had made it this far, and he couldn't let her down. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Sam, and I'm just a mechanic. Not too long ago, I was living a normal life, working long hours at my shop, trying to get by. But one evening, I met a little girl named Lily. She was cold, hungry, and all alone. And despite everything, she still had hope." Sam paused for a moment, his eyes scanning the room. He could see that people were listening intently. He continued, sharing the story of how he met Lily, how he had made the decision to help her, and how everything had changed since that night. He spoke about the challenges they both faced, the struggles that came with trying to rebuild Lily's life, and how, despite everything, they had managed to find hope. He didn't shy away from the tough parts of the story, the moments when he had felt unsure about what to do next, the times when he wasn't sure if he was making the right decisions. But he also shared the incredible transformation that had taken place in both their lives since then. By the time Sam finished speaking, the room was silent. There were a few moments of pause, and then, unexpectedly, a round of applause erupted. Sam looked around, surprised. He wasn't used to being applauded, but there was something about the warmth in the room, the sense of community, that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he had made a difference. Carol approached him after his speech, her eyes filled with admiration. "Thank you, Sam. You don't know how much your story will inspire others tonight. There are people here who can help, and I know that they'll want to." As Sam left the event, his heart felt fuller than it had in a long time. He had shared his story, not for recognition, but because he believed in the power of kindness. And as he drove back to the shelter that night, he couldn't help but feel proud of what he had done, not just for Lily, but for himself as well. The next few days brought more surprises. Donations began pouring into the community center, as well as offers of help from people who had been touched by Sam's story. One woman even offered to sponsor Lily's education, ensuring that she would have everything she needed to succeed in school. Sam knew that things were far from perfect. There would still be challenges ahead. But for the first time, he felt like everything was finally falling into place. Lily had a chance at a better life, and Sam, though he had once been unsure of his own future, now felt like he had a purpose. A year had passed since Sam first met Lily on that cold winter night. So much had changed since then, and it was hard for Sam to believe how far they had both come. Every day, Lily grew stronger, more confident, and more determined to make the most of the second chance she had been given. Sam was proud of her, and he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of fulfillment when he saw how much she had blossomed. Lily had settled into her new life at the shelter and had started excelling in school. She was now one of the top students in her class, and her teachers couldn't stop praising her for her hard work and eagerness to learn. It was as if all the pain and hardship she had faced had only fueled her desire to build a better future for herself. Sam was amazed at her resilience. Despite the difficult past she had endured, she was full of hope and ambition. Sam had also experienced his own transformation. His new job at the auto shop had given him the stability he had always dreamed of. Mr. Turner, his boss, had become more like a mentor, and Sam was learning new skills every day. His confidence had grown, and he was no longer worried about where his next paycheck would come from. He was able to save money, and for the first time in a long while, he felt like he was in control of his future. One evening, as Sam sat at the small kitchen table in his apartment, sipping on a cup of coffee, he reflected on everything that had happened. It was hard to believe how much his life had changed in just a year. He had gone from being a struggling mechanic, just trying to get by, to someone who was making a difference in the life of a little girl who had no one else to turn to. And Lily, well, Lily had gone from being a scared, homeless child to a bright, optimistic young girl who was on her way to a better future. Sam smiled to himself as he thought about the last time he had seen Lily. That afternoon, she had come over to his apartment after school. She was holding a small, folded piece of paper in her hand. Sam looked up at her and raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" he asked, pointing to the paper. Lily grinned and handed it to him. "It's for you," she said, her voice filled with excitement. Sam unfolded the paper and saw that it was a drawing. At the top, in bold letters, it read, "Thank you, Sam." Below, there was a picture of a smiling house with the sun shining over it, and in the middle of the picture, there was a person holding hands with a little girl. The person was drawn with broad, strong shoulders, and the little girl had a big smile on her face. It was clear who they were. Sam felt a lump form in his throat as he looked at the drawing. It wasn't much, just a simple picture, but it meant everything to him. He looked up at Lily, who was watching him with wide eyes, waiting for his reaction. "Lily, this is amazing," Sam said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you so much." Lily beamed, her eyes sparkling with pride. "I made it for you. You helped me, Sam. I want to be like you when I grow up, someone who helps others." Sam felt a surge of warmth in his chest. It was moments like these that made everything worth it. The long days, the struggles, the doubts, they all seemed insignificant when he saw the happiness and hope in Lily's eyes. "You're already doing great, Lily," Sam said, his voice filled with pride. "You're already helping others by being the person you are. You have so much potential, and I know you're going to do wonderful things with your life." Lily looked down at the drawing again, a blush spreading across her cheeks. "I want to help you too, Sam. I know it's not much, but I want to give you something." Sam was surprised. "You've already given me more than I could ever ask for, Lily. This picture means the world to me." Lily shook her head. "I want to do more. Maybe when I get older, I can help kids like I was. And I'll make sure no one has to go through what I did." Sam felt a lump in his throat again. He couldn't believe how much she had grown, how much she had overcome. It was hard to imagine that just a year ago, she had been a scared, shivering child with no one to turn to. Now, she was already thinking about helping others. It was a reflection of everything she had learned, everything she had gained from the kindness and love she had received. The next few weeks flew by. Lily continued to do well in school, and Sam's work at the shop was steady. But there was something else that was changing. Sam had been saving money for a while, and now, he was finally in a position to move to a better apartment. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A fresh start. One afternoon, Sam took Lily to see the new apartment. It was small, but it had a cozy feel to it, with bright windows and enough space for the two of them. It was a place they could call home. As they walked through the rooms, Lily's eyes lit up. "This is ours?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. Sam smiled. "Yeah, it's ours. It's a new beginning for both of us." Lily looked around the room, her face filled with excitement. "It's perfect, Sam. I love it." Sam felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. It wasn't just the apartment that made him proud, it was everything they had built together. He had given Lily a chance, and she had grabbed it with both hands. She was thriving, and so was he. They had both come so far, and Sam knew this was just the beginning. As they sat down together on the floor of the new apartment, surrounded by boxes and empty rooms, Sam looked at Lily with a smile. "I'm so proud of you, Lily," he said, his voice full of emotion. "You've shown me what real strength is. You've come so far, and you're only going to keep going higher. I know you're going to do great things." Lily smiled, her eyes shining. "I couldn't have done it without you, Sam. You helped me, and now I'm going to help others." Sam took her hand, a sense of peace settling in his heart. "And together, we'll keep helping. That's what family does." And in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of their new home, Sam realized that kindness wasn't just something that changed lives, it built futures. He had made a difference in Lily's life, and she had made a difference in his. As they looked out the window at the setting sun, Sam knew that the best was yet to come.